Good afternoon. It is Thursday, November 15th, just before 2 p.m. My name is Stock Darts, and in today's video, I'd like to go ahead and go through the process of finding a couple of different trade ideas in a sector that is sort of struggled over the last couple of months. Obviously, the entire markets have struggled, but this is a sector that has actually been beaten up even more than the general markets. And just giving you guys an idea of the process of how we can go ahead and find some trades in a market that's being pretty stingy about giving us good trading opportunities. And so if you take a look at the S&P 500, you can see that we're finding a little bit of relief today and setting up for a bounce, hopefully into next week, into the holidays, into Thanksgiving. We can get a nice little relief bounce and make our way back up into some previous levels of resistance. And if that's the case, we can hopefully benefit with some nice trades to the long side, which again have been pretty scarce in the last month and a half. And so what we want to do here is we go to our heat map and we just try to figure out exactly where the strength is today, right? And you can see there's a lot of green across the board, but one area that I noticed had a lot of nice bright green spots is here in the technology area, and particularly with semiconductors. You can see there's quite a few of them scattered in here that are performing pretty well and having good days. And so I thought maybe let's go ahead and take a look and see if we could find some other names. Now again, if you go ahead and take a look at what the S&P 500 has done, what the NASDAQ or the Qs have done, and then if we take a look at what semiconductors have done, you can see that they're, relatively speaking, they've been pretty beat up, right? If you look at what we've done throughout the year, we're down on the year, and printed new lows and well below all our critical moving averages, but we're having a very nice day today, a very nice bullish engulfing candle, which relatively speaking, up 3%, almost 3%, is much better than what we're seeing out of the overall market. So maybe we're starting to get some relief here and they could start to rally ahead of the general markets. And so what I want to do is, again, give you guys a general idea of how we'd go about and find some trades here. So what we do is, once we see an area that we want to identify, we come over to our screener. And again, we're using finviz.com, nice free website that anybody could use. And the only thing I'm going to screen for is just put like over 500,000 volume, just because I want names with a little bit more liquidity. And then I'll come over here to the industry, and I'll just start scrolling through a bunch of semiconductors. Now you can see there's a few different subsections, right? You've got the broad line, equipment and materials, integrated chips, memory, all kinds of stuff, right? So we're just going to start with the first one. And come over here, you can see 20 names show up, right? So if I just click here on charts, I can get a broad view of what all the charts look like. And from here, I can find certain names that fit the criteria that I'm looking for, or what I'm looking for as far as a trade idea, right? And so there are two ideas here. One is you can look for names that are performing exceptionally well and are flagging at highs and getting ready to maybe move to new highs. So stuff like IPHI, form factor to a certain extent, Mellanox, which is again printing a beautiful candle, and focus on those names, right? So you can look at something like, again, MLNX, and just trade momentum to the upside on this, right? Now, for the purposes of this video, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for names that have been generally depressed and are getting ready to do something like what MLNX has just done, right? So it's not an idea that's for everybody. If you're someone that prefers to trade strength and prefers to trade momentum to the upside, then maybe you want to look at something like this now. And I would not say that that's a bad idea. It's just not what I'm looking for these particular trade setups. What I'm looking for are more along the lines of something like what Intel's doing here, which is a name that basically has broken a steady downtrend and is setting up for a move similar to what we've just seen out of MLNX, right? So we go through here and we just start pointing out names that we like, that we would want to examine in more detail. Now, I've already done this, and there were a few names that actually printed patterns similar to what we're seeing on Intel, right? You can see NXPI to a certain extent has done that, MXIM has done that, and if we scroll through and go to different areas, we're going to find other names that again are doing something very similar and are printing the pattern that the particular pattern that I'm looking for, right? And what I wanted to do now was focus on a couple of them and give you an idea of how I would go ahead and structure a trade for that. So first one, of course, is Intel, which we already are looking at. And as you can see, we had a nice break of a nice descending channel, right? So you can see Intel's been correcting for a while, and looks like maybe it tried to bottom out, judging by the price action that we saw at the end of October and into the start of November, and particularly what we're seeing now as we broke through this downtrend and are setting up the price action right above 46 and trying to build up momentum to get back above the $50 area. And this actually looks pretty bullish. Now, are we ready to move back to highs? Probably not. Judging by what I'm seeing out of the markets, I think if we could just get a rally back up to 50 and then hopefully to 52, I think that's a pretty good target and a pretty good idea of what I would expect out of Intel in the closing months of 2018. And I'd be okay with that, right? So what I'd want to do here, the most important thing, more than the upside targets, is understanding where this trade would be wrong. And to me, I think if we fall back below these two moving averages, if we lose this general area of the breakout and fall below, I'd say 46.50 to 46, that this trade idea is wrong, right? That we failed. It's going to start riding the bottom of this trend line and start retesting this area just below this nice horizontal level that's been established as a price zone of price support zone. So ideally, as long as it stays above that, there's plenty of potential for upside movement, and what we do is just sort of trail our stop and try to see how far we can get with price. I mean, maybe it even gets above 52. However, I would scale out of partial profits just to sort of make sure that I lock in something so that the trade doesn't reverse on me and turn into a total loser. But overall, I would, in this sort of a trade, I'd like to trail a stop and try to take advantage of upside as long as this breakout holds and sort of maintains it. Because as long as we've graduated from this descending trend line towards a more neutral to bullish environment, then we can hope that this thing starts to make its way higher. And then the other one that I liked was ENPH. Now this one actually is in a little bit of a stronger state than Intel. And I actually think this one has potential to make its way back up to highs and possibly beyond them. As you can see, throughout the month of October, while it did correct, it didn't really lose any ground. Overall, it's maintained price action in a pretty stable base. Now, it is below the highs that it got in the middle of the year, but at least it maintained price action in the same area that it started the year, and recently it broke back out and is trying to establish price again above a very critical $5 price point. And it's doing a pretty good job of holding that and printing a very nice bull flag. So this is one of those nice scenarios where if you like trading momentum to the upside, or you like trading a good risk reward at established support values, well, this one actually fits both of those criteria, because we had a nice breakout and a nice bull flag forming, but at the same time we're retesting a support level and we're not that far away from it. So you could really look at this as a support play or value play, or as a momentum breakout play. And I think in both cases it's looking pretty good. You've got all the moving averages coiling underneath it and starting to curl up and start to maybe sort of act as a cushion to continue pushing price upwards. And I actually like this one quite a bit. I think it's a pretty nice looking chart, especially when you consider what we're seeing out of the broader markets. And so overall, this one looks like it has some nice potential for at least another point or two of upside, and really we've got maybe 50 cents of downside. So again, I like the risk reward on this, and looks like a good setup for us. And I think overall that's what we're looking for in this particular market, is little pockets of strength that might be developing and that could take advantage of the moments of relief we get, because clearly we're not in a healthy market at the moment in the short term. The market looks like it still wants to find more sellers, and despite the fact that we have a sea of green today, that these are the kind of markets where the carpet could be pulled from underneath traders immediately, and we start to kind of come backwards. So you don't want to go overboard trying to take a lot of trades. What you want to do is be particularly picky and look only for names that are giving you really good setups, really good risk reward, or in general seem to have an edge on what you're seeing out of the rest of the charts. So if you like this analysis, if you like this sort of trade idea or these types of videos, it'd be greatly appreciated if you hit the subscribe button or the like button on YouTube. And if you really want more of these types of ideas, go ahead and follow me at patreon.com/stockdarts. I'm going to type the link in the description below, and there you'll find trade ideas. I tend to put them at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. Some of them are free. Some of them are subscriptions or subscription based. However, the subscription is pretty small. The lowest tier is just $8. Some of the more advanced subscriptions are a little bit more expensive, but they give you a lot more information. But there's also a lot of free stuff on there, so make sure you check that page out every day if you like what you're seeing here, and if you're someone that enjoys looking at good trading content, particularly trading content that's based off of technical analysis. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a good rest of today, and I'll see you again in the next video.